Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to, the first of what I hope and what I think we're going to have are many editions of The Process. Welcome. The whole point of the series, The Process, is to kind of pointed more towards parents and certainly prospects. I hope can get some knowledge out of this, hopefully. Just some observations, some thoughts from myself, and obviously I speak to quite a few college coaches and people around the entire recruiting process and have for over 20 years. Maybe some things to do, some things to avoid, some things to look out for, impact of certain rules that have an impact. And it's such a broad area and so many different subjects we can get into. So I think my approach to this is certainly for this episode, and then we'll continue to work our way around it. I just want to address like one subject today, which I want to talk about camps. We're in prime season for kids and parents filling out their busy summer schedule in June and July, trying to put all those dates together and get out to as many camps as they can. And I want to address that. And my focus on this is going to be on a 2018 class, but certainly 2019, 2020 are going to be just as impacted. And a lot of this starts with, if you're not aware, NCAA recently passed back in mid-April several recruiting reform and changes. And one of the big changes that certainly impacts the camp season. So we're getting into this now. So for Division I schools, in particular, BCS level schools, meaning your Big Ten, your MAC, those levels of schools, they have made several changes, some very important. I think the most important rule change is the fact that the NCAA has shortened the evaluation period considerably compared to a year ago. Schools have 10 working days now and a much shorter time frame to host camps and to attend camps. So if you're a 2018 prospect and player and you're looking at the schedule thinking, wow, all these camps are lumped into like maybe a 2-week period. Well, the reason that is because of these changes to the recruiting rules. So we'll focus in on some of the in-state camps and certainly it goes for more than just out of state. But I think a couple of the important things to remember if you're a 2018 prospect and let's say you don't have offers or you don't have quote unquote BCS level offers. I think the most important thing for players and parents at this time of the year is that you have to be extremely realistic of who to camp with, where to go, and to be smart because number one, every one of these camps is going to cost you money out of your pocket, travel expense in some cases, in a lot of cases, hotels. So you really have to plan things out and really camp smart. Now, how do you define camping smart? Well, there's a lot of different things that go into that. Number one, I think the most important thing is be realistic in who is actually recruiting you and how do you know that? Well, this time of year I think is the most important from a kind of a contact realistic standpoint. If your son has a college coach that either calls or texts or comes into school and has a discussion, whether that's by text, but in particular in school, and maybe they haven't offered, you might have even gone to a junior day or some other event at that school. And if they haven't come on and really made it known that they want you at that camp, I don't know if I would attend. To me, to go to a BCS camp without any offers at that level, and there are kids, and believe me, there's exceptions to every one of these rules or guidelines that I'm going to lay out. So again, there's always exceptions, but in general, just be very smart. Now, I think the appeal of some of these camps is you will have multiple colleges and multiple schools at some of these events. And on that case, I've been a big fan of the satellite camps. Now, the satellite camps have somewhat changed, yet we still have a good amount of them left. Colleges can attend BCS level, the big level, Division I, can attend satellite camps, but they have to be on an NCAA campus or athletic facility for the NCAA level schools. That is why you're seeing D3 schools like North Central College, Elmhurst, Lake Forest hosting satellite camps. And of course, these satellite camps feature obviously the host schools, the D3 schools, as well as a lot of different coaches from different levels. You'll see, I know, Minnesota, Iowa State, Penn State, Illinois. A lot of your BCS level schools are working these camps, obviously trying to appeal to get kids to come out and camp. So bang for the buck. I think those are great camps to go to. Again, you're kind of staying closer to home if you live in Chicagoland, or even if you're Central Illinois or downstate. It's still not a bad commute at all to go to those camps. I think from a cost standpoint, it's much more feasible, especially if money's tight and you're trying to get the best bang for the buck. I think those are great camps to go to be seen, to kind of get the most out of your money. Now, there's other camps as well. And again, I'm not going to go through and start endorsing one camp over the others. But again, you really have to make sure you're getting serious recruiting interest from, the schools I mentioned for some of those reasons alone. And that's easier said than done sometimes. As far as the camps themselves, one thing to look at the schedule are in-state FCS schools, meaning Southern Illinois, Western Illinois, Illinois State. A lot of them are allowed to have July dates, which again, if you have a FCS school looking at you and maybe they're working one of these June camps, you might want to, if you're looking at your schedule, go to an on-campus camp at Illinois State or Southern or Western or Eastern and go that route, because that way you can maybe spread out the camps a little bit. Another thing I want to mention spreading out the camps. And this past weekend, I was in an event, a kind of a showcase camp, and talking to quite a few parents, and it's amazing. All these years I've been doing it, and you continue to see kind of consistently the same mistakes that parents and kids make going in to obviously a very important season, the camp season. I talked to some parents and they're like, well, Johnny's going to do 9 straight days of one-day camps. And folks, that is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a parent and as a player. And the reason I say that is, and I understand, you're trying to get and be seen by as many schools as possible. It's important, but I think what people forget about is you'll go to your first one day and it might go well, it might not. You might be a little rusty. So that happens. It's very hard to describe, but every camp is different, and every camp brings an extremely high level of intensity, something that if you're just coming off the street and really haven't been doing a whole lot, or, you can train your butt off and it takes time to get used to that. You might struggle that first camp. So let's say you go to another camp the following day. Well, the night before that second camp, you are going to be beat up. You're going to be sore. That second camp in a row, depending upon position, and I think it really goes for everything, but, you're going to be sore. You're going to be beat up. You're not going to be as good. If you're a quarterback, you're going to throw 1,000,000 balls that first day, and then you're going to have to turn around and do it again. And by the time you get to your third camp in a row, you're not good. You're slower. You're sore. You're just beat up from the first two. That starts impacting you in your recruiting. So, it makes it that much more difficult with these rule changes, because, as I mentioned, they're much more concise into a very couple of week window here for the BCS level schools. So my suggestion is you have to find a little bit of a way to get in the camps you need to, but also you need to get a little bit of rest and downtime in between. Otherwise, I think eventually in the long run, you're just going to hurt yourself. So again, definitely take that into account. And as I mentioned, I could go on, and we'll get a little bit more, especially if you're a non-2018 kid, the importance of these camps. And what if you're not going for recruiting purposes? What if you just want to try to get better, which honestly I think is the approach everyone should take when they go to these camps. We'll get into that as well as maybe what to expect at a one-day camp if you've never been to one, and any tips I can share. Again, thoughts, suggestions, feel free, post it on my YouTube comments page. Hit me on Twitter at EdgyTim. on my website or my email, edgytim@edgytim.com. Any thoughts, suggestions, questions, issues you want me to address or answer, I'd love to hear from it because, again, doing a lot of this for you guys. So there you go. Episode number 1 in the book of The Process. Thanks for watching.